Uh-oh. Hold up. I think my mic was muted. Okay. So let's just go ahead and just say it's been it's been a second, so I probably was muted. I don't think you heard what I just said. So this is Liberty and Freedom with Brian Bledsoe. So yeah, I just noticed that. So yeah. So I'm glad I didn't get too far into that. But so there's been a couple of changes in as far as Bledsoe, Texas go. So I wanted to address those right quick before we get to our guests and get into the meat of our discussion. So first off, since the founding of this chapter, I've been in the role of advisor, and as of February 1st, I will take the role as media director. So um, no, I'm looking forward to doing my best in that role, and that's where we're moving forward there as well. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think since we've been on that we've discussed as far as having our we have a new state director who is also our guest host for tonight, Lucke Campbell.
Thank
So
you.
I don't think we haven't been on since you've been appointed the state director, right?
No,
Yeah.
this
Okay.
is the first show. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because you've been on before, so I guess if people don't remember, it's just want to know a little bit about yourself before we get into our discussion with Jordan Brock's reign. Yeah, just let them know.
Well, I believe sometime around this time, almost 2 years ago, I was on a guest on the show, and I was the assistant state director, and we talked about school choice at that time. I've been with Blexit for about 2 years now, and I started out as just a regular member, and then one day I became ASD, and because our former SD Rakita Harper moved to the cold state of Colorado, is how, is how I became the state director of Blexit, Texas. We also have Lisa Abraham as the ASD assistant, and she used to be our outreach and partnership director. And then, of course, you moved into the MD, so congratulations. And Jacovia Cartwright is our director of member relations. And we're still looking for two city director of city.
Director of city. So, matter of fact, while you're saying that, I don't know. Well, we'll see how this works because I actually have a bit of a slide for people to see, and hopefully, let's see if you can. If I take you off screen, can they still hear you? So, uh, yeah, I don't think they can hear you. So,
Uh,
um, but I did put that up there. So for people that maybe just caught that for a second, I am just going to read it because just in case that didn't work. So director of city, so they have a number of responsibilities. So first is report to the state director, strengthens and support chapter outreach and partnerships within the city, attend monthly executive team meetings, oversees chapter community leaders across the city, collaborates with DMR, director of member relations, to increase membership engagement in city, ensures the chapter holds at least 3 events a month, ensures the the chapter events fit within the Blexit pillars and initiatives, ensures that the chapter has photos and videos from every event, and must be a resident of the city. So um, these are new positions that we just put together that we are looking for. We got those jobs on our Facebook page. If you want to see, it's basically the same thing that you just heard. And and yeah, so we're still looking for people to fill those positions. So
and please don't be shy. You can message us through Facebook Messenger, or most of you are in our clever CRM where you receive emails and text messages from us. Please help us out. Texas is a really big state, and we need people everywhere.
Okay.
Where?
Okay. And so also got just two more announcements. We have it's rally time again for Bledsoe, and this time we're going to be in St. Louis, Missouri. Now, this would be the time where I would say get your tickets for it, but it's already sold out.
Hey,
So I'm just basically just making you aware of the stream, I guess, to watch on the day of. So we're glad that we already have sold out tickets for that. So yeah, we're just looking forward to being up in St. Louis and get together again as a big Blexit family. So
yes,
and also last thing, Lucky, I want you to touch on especially is we have a food bank in Houston on February 26th.
yes. So February 26th from I believe it's 9:30 a.m. to 12:30, something like that. The details are there. I'll be at the Houston Food Bank, and we'll be in the warehouse, um, organizing the cans, goods, and putting them where they ask us to put them. This is just one of the first events that we want to have, and we'll have continuously where we are contributing back to the community. I know everyone's used to us having, some type of social gathering, food and drink, and having a really good time. And those things are great, but we all should also should be working in the community. So this is just one way to give back to our community, and there'll be many other opportunities as well. So please come and join me on that Saturday. I'd appreciate it.
All right. So yeah, yeah, like I said, we definitely need volunteers for that. And yeah, so that also is well, I don't think well, there's a couple of posts we have on Facebook in particular where it has the link to register. Um as we get closer to it, well I'll probably well, I'm the media director now, so I'll make an event to add that registration link on there. So we can, have people make it easier for people to find that link so they can sign up to volunteer. All
Awesome.
right. So that was longer than I expected. We're already 10 minutes in. I didn't think I was gonna be going that long. So, but I would just say right now, I guess because the rest of this discussion is probably just gonna be me, off trying to maybe get the questions from everyone else. So, well, I guess for this live stream is Jordan Brock's stream. And we put her bio on our every event page, and I will just give a little bit of it. So Jordan Brox Rain is a principal development specialist for a public virtual charter school. She has worked in education for 11 years, both in public pre-K 12 and in higher education for Christian colleges. She leads and mentors school principals. She taught for 8 years and has been in administration for 4 years, serving as a director of teacher development, a principal, and now a principal development specialist. Jordan has a heart for students and is an advocate for school choice. So, without further ado, here's Jordan Parks Rain. How are you doing?
Hi, hi, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. It's good to see you, Brian and Lucky. I was so honored to be asked to spend some time with you this evening. So thank you so much. Good to see y'all.
Good to
Uh,
see you. Thank you for being here.
You
So,
bet.
like I said, I am just gonna hand the floor off to Lucky, and I might just pop in with a question or so. I might hear something like, "Hey, I might have maybe it may be a dumb question, but I'm just gonna throw it in." So Lucky, take it away.
All right, Jordan. So every month in January, Blexa does these talks, or we host events across all chapters about school choice. And the thing is, though, Texas is one of those states where we don't really have school choice like other states have. So some states have vouchers where they can get their kids into private schools or whatnot. But for us, it's mostly you don't have to go to the school that you're zoned to, but you would have to provide transportation, and it's a little more involved than that. But that's the basics. And then, of course, there's homeschool, charter schools, private school, and co-ops, which generally are a part of homeschool.
Right.
Um, is there anything that you recommend out of all of those, or they're all good choices, but there's one that's better than the other?
Yeah, I think it's just, working in education for so long in the public sector and then in Christian schools and now in a public charter school. I think it always depends on the student and the family and how they can partner in that. So I can't just say that one is better than the other. I think when you look at the student and whether their family can be involved in their education, for instance, homeschool is a big undertaking that requires a lot of a time from the parents or guardians to teach. So if they have full-time jobs, while it's not something that is impossible, it's just a little bit difficult. So I think always looking at what is the best route for the student and the family and what they can make happen. And then just as an example, if you look at the virtual charter schools, public virtual charter schools, and how they can provide the curriculum to the student, sometimes a teacher is there to partner with families. So it's kind of a triangle of the student, the parent, and the teacher to help the student be successful. So I think just when families are choosing, taking into consideration all of the factors that go into that child as a whole and how many, we all say it takes a village to raise a kiddo. So the availability of the parents. So I think it's just what's best for the family.
That's a great answer, and I completely agree with you. My youngest child is 16, and she's homeschooled. Ooh, and it is a challenge because I still have a full time job. So yeah, and sometimes I have to bring in other people to help me ensure that she's doing what she's supposed to be doing because she won't on
Right.
her own time. She won't do it. So who knew you could skip school at homeschool, just
Right.
just like regular school? Um, I want to talk about, well, just a little bit. So a lot of parents are pulling their kids out of public school, and part of that is, mask mandates or vaccine mandates.
Mhm.
Another part of it is CRT, critical race theory. Just how much of that, if any of it, is really in our public schools?
With that, I think it really honestly does depend on the district. We've been through trainings with that. And then two, looking at the legislation, keeping up on all of that with Texas. I work with different states, not just Texas. So knowing that, what has passed, I know in some states they're passing different, laws with the critical race theory. So that's a tough question that I wish I had the answer to, but it does just really depend on the district, even the teacher. It can go down to that because I've had conversations with superintendents and principals that are having to deal with certain issues that are arising, and it's different from each district, so I wish I had an answer for it, but I think just again going back to the families and the student and being so involved, because I don't have kids of my own, but having nieces and nephews and being an educator for so long, I always want to be informed of what's going on, what's really being taught behind the walls of a classroom, or if it's virtual. So I think that's the only way that we can stay aware of what our kids are actually being exposed to, is having those conversations, asking those kids at the dinner table, hey, what did you learn about school today? So we can advocate for our kiddos.
How easy or impossible is it for a parent to really ask what is the curriculum being taught? Can they, who do they talk to say they want, if they want to review the curriculum?
Yeah, so they can reach out to, depending on, honestly, they can probably do it whether it's a private sector or public, but they can always go to the state Board of Education, like the website there, and access the standards. But if you want to know what's being taught in your child's classroom, I know all of the teachers that I've ever led in the past love it when parents ask those questions, because that's showing them that, hey, I care about my son or daughter, or the kid that they're raising, and they want to go the extra mile in knowing what's covered. So yeah, even asking teachers for lesson plans, not in a, like a way that would be offensive or like you don't trust that teacher, but just, hey, I really want to take part in Johnny's education. So can you share lesson plans with me so that way I can partner at home and reiterate that? But yeah, that should definitely be accessible. Teachers should never deny that. It should be something that parents can have access to. So I would say first start with a teacher. If that doesn't work, then obviously go up to upper administration. If there's a principal or headmaster, check with them.
Awesome. I know when my kids were in public school, here's how I used to get the teachers and to give me more information. I used to tell them that, which was true, I wasn't lying. I used to tell them I will be teaching them on the weekend for a couple hours, Saturday and Sunday, and I want to keep up with what you're doing. Can you give me the lesson plan for the week or the month? So whatever you're teaching in class through the week, I can reinforce it at home. And then I used to ask for extra work that my kids could work on. And you're right, the teachers do love that, and it makes a difference in your child's um, learning journey when the parent is actively engaged and the teachers see that.
Exactly. I agree. And that's a great tip that you gave just now, too. And I know that you did it with your daughter. So that's awesome. Because when parents lock arms with teachers, I think we can truly change the world for our kids.
Now, some parents are not into that. They're like, nope, nope, nope. I want my kids out of school. And like you said, it depends on the family, it depends on the circumstances, what choice they make. I'd like to talk about the pros and cons of each of the choices.
Hmm.
So, the pros of private school, a lot of them are Christian and some are not. They're just regular private schools that are not subscribed to any religion. There are private schools that are really heavy on immersion of different languages. So you're learning languages while you're there. Some schools you can get, even public, you can get an associate's degree by the time you graduate or college credits. I think those are that's really important to have. It's an advantage if you can graduate high school with an AA or AS degree. Um, I think the cons would be definitely private school can be really costly, really expensive because the uniforms are one thing, the books are one thing, the lunch is one thing, extracurriculars, and it's like these are just charges on top of paying for just to be there.
Right.
Um, but I think those are the first two choices that most people are aware of and think of. Then the second would be homeschool, and homeschool has changed a lot. I was homeschooled. That was 100 years ago. But homeschool is a lot now. You can have online homeschool where you're interacting with people such as this. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, and it's a little more cost effective. Um, I want people to understand that when you're looking to change the how you get your children educated, that those are options, and you can find that information online. Um, Private schools, like Google is my one of my best friends. And I just put private schools in my area or homeschool curriculum in my area. I won't be naming any because I don't want to seem like I'm promoting one over the other. And, no one's paying me to do that.
When they start paying, we'll start talking.
But I'm saying that those things are really out there. In my honest opinion, the first thing to do is to try to work with your school district, and meet with the teachers and go to the school board meetings if you can and see what they're doing and what they're talking about. What are their plans for not just your child but all the children's future in that school in that district. I also believe in a lot of public school districts have their curriculum or some form of it on their website as well. So you can go click, you just got to feel through it. because some school districts' websites are really, really busy. But if you keep looking, you'll find it. Um, is there, since there's no voucher system in Texas for parents to be able to access these, at least not right now. I know the Republican Party's working on that. But since there's not one now, are you aware of any scholarship opportunities or um, anything of that nature to access private schools?
Um, I'm with you. Google is my best friend too, so that's where I would say go. Your first bet would be to go there and then just see, because I'm sure that they update those scholarships throughout the year, and that people will qualify based on a number of things that would suit them. So I don't have like an end all be all of, hey, go here. I'm with you, girl. Google's my best friend, so I would just Google those and maybe save them on your bookmark so to check every once in a while. So if new scholarships have been added, and I'm in hopes, like you said, with the vouchers to be changing, hopefully, so we can have access to that.
Hopefully. Can
Well,
you
let,
quick? Oh, go ahead, Brian.
well, I do have that. I have that one question I was going to pop in with. So, I just wanted to ask, and when in dealing with teachers, and how how should parents deal with teachers who may be confrontational, that may not be as um, uh, forward in giving over their lesson plan, and may just try to, and maybe trying to hide something, or maybe not wanting to be as forward with parents. How should parents try to deal with those type of teachers?
Exactly. Well, I think, I mean, they can always just bring up that they have, if they're the parent or guardian, legal parent or guardian, they have the right to have those records. And so they can bring that up, if you kind of, if they're being less open to share that information, the parents can let them know, hey, it's a right that I have, that I can have this information. And then, of course, like, I know that people don't always like just taking it up the chain and want to face the issue with the teacher, but always go to the administrators or the principals. There's also curriculum specialists, or they call them different, they have different acronyms for them in different schools and grade levels. But if you go to basically the curriculum coordinators, ask for a meeting with them, they should hand it over. And most of the time, like I said, the teachers are pretty good to give it, but if you get it to the principal or school board member, you're going to get the information that you need. So that's what I would just do. I would advocate. I mean, we love our kids, and we do anything for them. So I think just not letting that guard down. And if you want to see what your kids are learning, you have that right. So don't back down. This is something where I'm not a big person that likes confrontation, but when it comes to students' rights and advocating for students, I'm willing to go ahead and speak up and talk to the manager, for lack of better terms.
Well, here's my last question. In the past 10 years or so, a lot has changed, not just in the country, but in the country's education system. Where do you where How does the landscape of the education system look now compared to several years ago, and where do you see it going into the future?
Yeah, so different. In fact, one school that I've partnered with and worked with, they are, like I said, a virtual public charter school. They've been around for 11 years. And so we've seen an influx of students choosing that virtual option. And I think that it's just going to continue to grow. Of course, with the pandemic and kids having to be at home and do virtual, that's been a change as well, but I can see it going more virtual, even in years to come. And I think you had mentioned something, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think it's important. One of the biggest reasons that we initially, with the school that I partnered with, had students come to us for that virtual offering was because they felt bullied or unsafe in their public brick and mortar schools. And so then they chose this virtual option. So that's one reason. Also, kids that are competing, in different sports or events that have to do school at different times, probably kind of like your daughter, if she's homeschooling and she may be working some, working a job or doing something else where you can have that flexibility. I can definitely see it going more virtual in the next few years because it's done a drop. I mean, we've had so many enrollments with with families choosing the virtual option so they can partner with the school to teach their kiddos.
So basically, it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't think so.
Neither of those things for work.
Exactly. And I think I'll just reiterate this because I'm so passionate about it. I think that it's always so important to do what's best for kids. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir, Brian and Lucky, but for instance, me, Lucky knows me, like I will talk to walls. I'm a super social gal. And so, given the option of a virtual charter school for me as a kid, wouldn't have been a good choice for me. I needed that socialization piece. Now, my older brother, he would have excelled and done fine. He's more of the introverted type, extremely smart. So, you know, he could have been one of those kids who graduated high school at 16 if given the option to work at his own pace. So, that will just be my piece to you all and to all of our listeners is when we look at what's best for kids, we're always going to do the right thing. So I think taking into consideration, no matter what the world looks like, if they've got virtual options or traditional brick and mortar, whether it be private or public, let's do what's best for kids and put them in a spot where they can grow and excel.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks for letting me join.
Yeah. So appreciate you, coming on and giving your insight. And yeah, I hope everyone that is listening got a lot from our discussion. And well, first, I guess one last thing I wanted to ask you is if people want to really, I guess, advocate for school choice and trying to have more options for parents. I mean, I know it's out there, but I mean, I know a lot of parents would like to have more options, and some may not even know where to look. So, where should they go if they want to, do that?
Yeah, again, like Lucky said, Google is a great
Mm,
tool and resource to look at. And just depending on, I know our listeners are probably mostly Texans, but if you're in other states, you can also look to see the options. If there are virtual charter or public schools for the kids and looking at school choice, I know one, and then again, letting our voices be heard, whether that's sending letters to
mhm,
legislators, senators, and so on and so forth back in Oklahoma, whenever we would have Capital Day, families would go up there and advocate having the students up there with their stories of why they chose and why they're thankful for the choice and don't want it taken away in that particular state was really eye-opening for the politicians and people in the Capitol because they saw kids, they saw faces, people behind these letters saying, "I'm so thankful for school choice," because whether they felt they were bullied or whether they have an illness that holds them back from being able to be around a lot of people, that was really a game changer. And so again, just letting our voices be heard, and that's all I can really say.
Another source, Brian, is the Texas School Association. Like if you Google that, I might have it off by a few words, but it'll still pop up. It's like in the very top results, and they will help you. They'll help you. Like they give you a letter template if you need it to send to your school to withdraw your child from public school to say
mm.
that you're in a homeschool. They give you resources and they tell you where to go to get your curriculum. What because there's so much out there to choose from. So the Texas Homeschool Association is a really good resource for those who are leaning towards homeschooling.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
All right. So, thank you, Jordan and
You bet.
Lucky. And so, yeah, for all of us, we appreciate you listening and well watching as well. And next month is for Bledsoe is our initiative is uh, Black entrepreneurship. So
Ready?
yeah, we'll have someone on. We don't know right now, and we're trying to figure out who we're going to have on for. It'll be February 27th, our next live stream here on Bledsoe, Texas. So for Jordan, and Lucky, and myself. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.